must say that some of my life experiences can't be created with animations. However, I enjoy speaking about the experiences that can. So, my fiance at this time in my life says, "Let's go to Vegas this weekend." I'm like, "Okay." However, he remained in the room the entire time. So, I relax a little and I decide to explore on my own. We order room service and then I hit the shower. I get dressed and I advise my fiance that I'd return shortly, and I'm off. Headed downstairs to the casino. I walk around to the various game tables and slots, reading the room. I see a quite confident guy, overjoyed with wins. The energy was encouraging. He knew when to stop. So I start my stroll again. Emotions were all over the place. I observed a couple angry about how much they should have won. I looked onward and observed a man passed out from being there for too many hours. Gambling. Okay, now this is interesting. Maybe I should just go watch a show or something. I sit at a slot. I barely invested. It was more entertaining to me. An elderly woman next to me said that she's there every day. I thought it was absurd, but oh well. At that point, I went back to my fiance. On the way back, I observed a guy in deep depression and a bit intoxicated. Yeah, we should have gone to the zoo. I realized that I love to explore, but I truly find excitement in some of the most mundane experiences: nature, animals, history, art, spirituality, and more. I'm in my mid to late 20s, and I've just completed the process of filing my small business with the state. This was a brand new experience for me, and I was super excited about the experience. My business entailed the handcrafting custom creation of body washes, lotions, perfumes, shampoos, mist, and much more. I placed my first big order and assisted the delivery worker upon the arrival of the products. I started corresponding with small and medium sized businesses almost immediately via a business platform, fulfilling orders, but I wasn't prepared even the least bit for the quantity and volume of products they were needing in such a quick turnaround time. I placed a local job ad to hire help, but the labor itself versus what I could afford to pay them ran them off. The work was definitely not for anyone who even slightly appears to be lazy. Doing it all by myself, forced exhaustion, lack of sleep, lack of time with my family, and zero personal time for myself. Not quite what I was expecting for my very first time being in business. After several months, I shipped my last order to a business outside of the US and advised my previous clients that I was temporarily closing. I went back to the corporate world to work for a payroll company. If only I had known then what I know now, my approach and operations would have been different. It's Christmas time, and I'm around 11 or 12 years old. My mother and I are discussing my Christmas request list, the list that I would normally provide months in advance. Christmas Eve arrives, and the usual relatives are in town visiting, so we are all enjoying one another. My oldest uncle started with his usual Christmas stories, advising me that he personally knew Santa Claus and that he used to hang out with him, drink cocktails, beer, and that they would play poker and various card games together. Ridiculousness at its finest. But I was a kid and seemed to believe my drunk uncle. My mother walked me to my bedroom and tucked me in for the night and told me to prepare for the next day. I was excited, so I started thinking about Santa arriving and even thinking about my uncle's absurd stories about him, Santa and Santa's elves. My mother peeped in on me, but I pretended to be asleep. Meanwhile, she and my relatives were playing Santa in the next room. I was awakened by their activity during the night, so I stood at my room door and observed them assembling my toys. The very toys that they swore were brought and assembled by a fictitious person. I was literally heartbroken, disappointed, and sad about what I was seeing. My older brother stepped in and realized that it was time to disclose the truth. I actually felt a bit tormented the next day. I rode my bike around, upset with my parents. When I went back to school, I told my classmates the secret, but they already knew. I felt even more tormented, more so because my family went out of their way to keep this lie going for years, and also because I should have asked for more. It's the end of 2025, and I decided to try a new nail salon. I walked in, sat down, and advised the tech that I wanted my natural nails French manicured. I noticed that he quickly started cutting my original nails off down to a nub. He started saying that he's a certified professional and knows what he is doing. But he didn't listen. He apparently thought that I wanted a full set of French manicured nails. When I asked to have my nails manicured, he clipped several nails off and my nails looked terrible. I was furious. He started saying that it was best for me to get a full set of nails rather than what I asked for. I told him that I wanted what I asked for. At this point, he had already made a huge mistake. He just didn't expect for me to oppose what he wanted to do. Well, of course, he could get more money from the full set, but it's not what I wanted. He tried to make it right by trying to clip the remaining nails. I walked out. I was more disappointed in myself for blindly giving his salon a chance. I'm in the second grade, and my teachers arrange our yearly park field trip. The park had a bit of history and housed the historical M48 Army tank, a combat tank serviced in the Vietnam War, as well as a few other wars. A memorable combat tank. My friends and I climbed the tank and immediately wanted to see what was inside. Intriguing switches and objects used to operate and control the tank. The walls were filled with soldiers' names, sweethearts, symbols, and what mattered most to them in times of war. Interesting, but yet somewhat emotional. A prankster classmate decided to shut the tank's smallest exit, enclosing me and my friends in pitch darkness. We grew terrified and burst from the top exit, scolding him as if we were adults. Then, a teacher joined in and took over the scolding. As an empath, I never expressed to my friends that the moment spent in that army tank was overwhelming. I felt the emotions of our servicemen, a bit of anguish, exhaustion, and more. It's New Year's Eve night, and 2021 is almost here. A friend calls me and asks me to attend a New Year's Eve gathering near the Midtown area. I agreed to go. He was the type of friend that kept most of his life shielded, like no one knew what he did for a living. So I never knew what to expect. I get dressed, and he pulls up to pick me up for the event. He was very relaxed on the way there. He talked about how the event was hosted by his friend and how they conducted business together. I'm still unsure of what he meant, but I just assumed we get to the event. And the vibe is great, more so a private gathering with friends, associates, and partners bringing in 2021. I actually had a great time. We brought the new year in, and it was time to go. My friend seemed a little disconnected, so I asked if he were okay. He said yes, but now it's storming and he's driving reckless on Highway I-20, headed away from Atlanta. At this point, we were floating 100 miles per hour in the rain, swerving, and I was literally terrified. He said, "Hey, I paid $1,300 for each of my tires. We're fine." It was not a good experience. He was geeking and laughing the entire trip back. I had to sit in the car for 5 minutes afterwards just to reflect. I blocked his number while he was still sitting in my apartment, laughing. After almost 2 years of college, I formed this bright idea of continuing college via the Air Force. I talked with a recruiter, and he was eager to schedule my screening at Fort Jackson. So I boarded my shuttle with a few other candidates. We were taken to a hotel to prepare what awaited us the next morning. I arrived at the hotel and was greeted by my roommate, another candidate that was entering as a Marine. I couldn't sleep the night before the screening. I imagined how the screening would go all night. The next morning, we boarded the shuttle again to be taken to the intake center for our physical, and boy, it was a screening indeed. They threw us in a room, half naked, to wait for the thorough screening, literally from head to toe and everything in between. After lying on a cold table, surrounded by several medical examiners, one with his hand up my crotch, I somehow found solace in finally having a seat. I sat, awaiting to swear in. I started thinking negatively, picturing things that were not likely to happen. I told one of the sergeants, and he advised me to go back home and think about it. So I did. The experience wasn't the problem. The problem was me And my thought process at that time, it was my first day of sales training for a major bank. My colleagues and I gathered for small talk before the trainer arrived. The trainer walked in, poised and professional in his demeanor. We all had a seat while he introduced everyone to the company and advised us on what to expect from the training. He asked us to share a story about an experience with an irate customer. We took turns doing so. Then he started to share his experiences. He told us that he once wrote down a customer's address because the customer made him that mad. He said in a jokingly way that he had plans for the customer. We stared at him. It was disturbing. It was a story he didn't have to tell. My coworkers and I shared our feelings about it in the break room afterwards. We talked about the importance of capable ethical leadership. What he threw at us was very much unexpected. I'm in my hometown visiting for the weekend. I decided to go downtown to explore and came upon this dark lounge, a long, dark hallway with various rooms set aside for whatever you may be seeking, a bit different in a Lost Boys, Twilight vampire movie type way. I take a seat on the bar stool with just an anticipation of relaxation for the evening. Instead, I get approached by everyone and everything that was not at ease. Discombobulated men were approaching with unwarranted conversation and behaving in ways that were not normal. I'm like, I just came here for the music and a cognac, but somehow peace seemed to be hard to acquire the more I sat and tried to enjoy myself. The more vampire activity seemed to develop around me, meaning weird people with meaningless conversation. I finished my cognac and realized that it was time to go. The way these people were acting. This might have been the fourth version of the movie Dusk Till Dawn. Even the bartender seemed a bit dark upon my exit. Oh well, I'm painting the picture as I saw them, and I'm not making this shit up.